Hey, what's going on, fellow collectors? So, it's Sunday. It's the Sunday after the Netflix Voltron debut, which was Friday the 10th, right? Which I dubbed Netflix Voltron Day. Voltron Day, right? So, I've been getting in as much as I possibly can. I'm up to episode 7, and I like it a lot. Initially, I was really excited about it, and that's not changed. It's just that I haven't had the time to really get in and binge watch like I wanted to, right? So I'm going to try and do a no spoilers reaction video to what I've seen so far in Voltron, and we covered this on Toy Detox as well. So you'll hear more of it on when you get next week's episode of Toy Detox. Okay, so, and you will get next week's episode of Toy Detox, right? Okay, so let's start with the overall feel of the show. So the show feels really good. It feels great. I love the style of animation, and it kind of reminds me of it's a cut between or somewhere in between what you see in the styling of the Boondocks, as well as what you see in some of the more prominent anime styles that we've gotten here recently. As far as it being digital, you can tell it's probably done in Toon Boom Digital Studio or whatever that shit's called. I took a class on it. I can't remember. But at any rate, the animation looks good. I'm glad that they kept to a anime style for it instead of changing the art style. I like that. Now, it is more updated, obviously. It's not that older style of anime, but there are some nods, and we'll get to that here in a minute. Okay, so let's talk about the looks of everything, the redesigning of everything. Voltron looks great, and we've had Voltron re-releases in the past decade or two that just really didn't work at all. They flopped, as a matter of fact. And what they've done in this one is they've stuck to the origin of Voltron, the original story that we love, the original designs that we love, but they expanded it. They made it better. They just kind of remixed it. Kind of like, Pit My Voltron. Like, hey dog, I heard you like Voltron, so we put some Voltron in your Voltron. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. So it's really cool. Voltron looks great. The lions look great. They're up to date. Each lion has more of its own personality in its design. One of the great things I like about it, and this may be a spoiler, a small, tiny spoiler, right? One of the great things that I like about it, I'm looking up and I'm looking down because it's about natural that I want to look this way, but my camera's up here, right? So forgive me. But one of the great things I like about it is when they form Voltron, they actually shows some bits of the transformation in the way they showed it in the classic cartoon where the legs kind of go in and everything like that. But it's obviously more detailed because they have more ability to show it and more resources. So being a Transformer collector that I am, I can really appreciate it. And I'm pretty sure you appreciate it too if you're a Voltron lover, because it's like what you know on steroids, right? So the insides of the legs of the body open up and you see the transformation of the legs going in. It's really hot, man. And then the actual lines, they're not as simplified as they used to be. So they have pieces that go up and then collapse. It's really cool. And then they go into like the leg, going into the leg lions' asses, and pieces securing that from the inside. So it's really good. It's done well. When we're talking about, or let's talk about the actual pilots, the characters. You have the original characters minus Sven. This new guy, I think his name is Shiro, or something like that. I didn't like him at first when I first saw the the advertisements for it. I thought that this guy was going to be Sven. I was like, damn, they really beefed Sven up. Are they making Sven the new leader? And this guy is the leader, but it's not Sven. And then I wondered, is Shiro or Shino, whatever the fuck his name is that what Sven's name was in the original anime, which came from overseas somewhere, and then we Americanized it and changed the name to Sven? Is that it? So I'm not sure. It's quite possible that is the case. Hey, if you know, let me know. Put it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you've seen, what you researched. But the character himself, at first I wasn't really in on him when I realized that it wasn't Sven, because in my mind, due to my childhood experiences, Keith is the leader, right? And I can't get past anyone else being a leader. But as I watched the series, the character has really earned your respect as a leader. He's fully focused on the team in the way that Keith was back in the day. Keith falls to more of a, not even a second in control, but more of a beta on the team, if you will, whereas he should be the alpha. He's more of a beta now, and he's just at odds with Lance. So they have their little thing they go back and forth with. So and that relationship between him and Lance is pretty cool as well. So I'm not so hateful of the Shiro or Shino character anymore. I just I'm looking to see what they do with him, because there are some odd things. I'll put this out here. And this is a small spoiler. So he has a bionic arm or robotic arm, and this happened while he was away. We'll just say that, before he got with the team and got back to Earth. Okay, so it makes me wonder where they're going to go with this story, because he's obviously not a regular human. Someone gave him that ability, and they kind of touch on it right around episode 3, I think it is. They kind of touch on it lightly, but I think you're going to see more develop as far as that story goes for him. As far as Hunk goes, Hunk is still the beefy big guy, but in this one he seems a little more cowardly, right? A little more hesitant to act, whereas I think in the older ones he was more of a tough guy. So, but he's still a lovable big guy character, so that remains. Lance is one of my favorite characters now, because they really took that showboating personality he had in the original cartoon, and they just pumped it up and put it on a current time frame. So it's like this one part where they're talking about how we have to have a slogan, and he's like, "When I say Vo, you say Tron," and it was really cool, right? It was really funny. It was kind of comical. Another small spoiler. So I'm not really doing good at keeping this spoiler free 100%, but I'm trying, because there is so much I can tell you, right? Let's talk about Pidge. Pidge is a cat. I like what they do with Pidge. Some of you might take issue. Some of you who I'm not going to touch on it too much, but I like what they do with Pidge. Especially when you consider who's voicing Pidge. I'll say that the young lady who's voicing Pidge. Who's voicing Pidge. You've seen her in, I believe you've seen her in Gotham. You've seen her in Arrow. She was in a show called The Killing. She played a character in there, as well as some other shows. She's a really great young actress, and I really like seeing her. I really like seeing her, so I'm glad to see her in this. So that gives you a hint of what they're doing with Pidge. Pidge is the same character, not quite as nerdy in the way that the character carries himself, but obviously the techie is still there, so that's cool. And Pidge has a unique story that's tied directly to how the whole story even opens up, so look forward to that. As far as Princess Allura and I think his name is Calderon, I can never remember, her assistant guy or whatever, they've turned them into aliens completely, so now they resemble more of an alien, not so much the humanoid look. And you've seen that, I'm pretty sure you've seen their faces in the design, and I like that. I like it a lot. The princess is a badass. She's not like some, she's not like some, "Oh, please rescue me." She's a badass, and she's serious about what she's trying to accomplish, but yet still, she's still a princess, so she's still a imperial type figure and feminine and all of that. Calderon is there, or whatever his name is. He's there wholly for comic relief, but yet still he has his moments as well. So I like what they do with that. You'll see some differences, whereas they actually, and I'm going to put this out there, they actually leave the planet that they were on before, because it's not Eris. If I remember, okay, so in the original cartoon they were on Eris. This is the planet that they start on. When you get to the Castle of Lions, is Alderaan. So they're trying to get back to Eris. So we'll see where that takes us. I like what they did with that as well. When you look at what else can I cover for you? When you look at what they did with the Lions and how you got to the Lions, that's something you may or may not like, because I feel like it was really easy for them to find all of the Lions. I'm not sure how I felt about that, but it makes me hope that they're going to develop other things in the storyline and the story structure that's further along, so they need to speed that up as far as them getting to the Lions. And again, this is a cartoon as well. It's for us, it's for our generation, but at the same time, it's meant to be mainstream enough for new viewers, so we got to have some understanding for that, right? But overall, what they're doing with it, it's really good. Now, what I like the most is what they're doing with King Zarkon and his team. They've totally redesigned them, but they kept they kept a trace of what it was. They took, again, as I said, with so many other aspects of the story, they took what it was and pumped it up, right? So King Zarkon looks 10 times better, 100 times better, more intimidating. He doesn't look like some old lizard that's finna clunk, right? So I like that. I really like what they did with Hagar, because she is an old witch, but she's not some gray thing inside of a cloak, and you never see aspects of her at all. You never see, it's not like that at all. So I like that. I'm waiting to see the prince. Is it Prince Zarkon? I can't remember what the prince's name was, but I'm waiting to see him and what they do with him. I don't think we're going to get him in the first season, but then I haven't finished it, so I could be completely wrong. So I'm waiting to see where we go. I hope that he becomes a major part. And for some reason, I don't remember. I feel like there was a sister there. I could be completely wrong. It's been a while since I watched the original series. I wouldn't mind them giving him a sister, though. So we'll see what happens with that as well. The way they do the road beast is somewhat different. They're not just in a sarcophagus and they hit it with a laser and it grows into this big robot. It's more of a thing where, well, I'll let you see that out, see that for yourself. But the sarcophagus is still there. So those things are there. What I will spoil for you, just so you can have a lookout for it, because most people I've talked to haven't caught it yet. There are some nods to early 80s cartoons. So in the very first episode, and keep your eye out for it, in the very first episode, when the three pilots come out of their flight simulator, there's a young lady in the crowd of other cadets there. You remember her from Voltron if you watched the early Voltron episodes, right? And I'm just going to say Max Sterling. Right? It's not Max Sterling. I'm going to say Max Sterling. That's your hint. So that way I'm not completely spoiling it for you. And then later on, when those same cadets, which is Lance, Pidge, and Hunk, are trying to sneak out to go out in the town, right? They're at this little corner, and they stare across the hall, and there is a officer inside of either an office or a cantina or something like that. You can see him sitting at a table, he's reading or doing something, eating or something like that. It's Roy Fokker. So for you guys who didn't catch it, it's Roy Fokker. Go back and check it out. So it makes me wonder just how many other nods are in there, or was that something that the artists, that the original animating team did just to, just as fun in that first episode, because there's a lot of fun in the first episode. So that's as far as I'm going to go for you right now. I don't want to ruin it. I'll come back at the end and do another one of these. I just wanted to get a brief overview of it, but it's a really good series so far. I haven't seen anyone complaining about it, but for those who are complaining, just remember, yeah, it is from our time frame. Yeah, it is meant to bring us back in, but it's also a cartoon, and it's also a mainstream cartoon, so they do want to bring in younger viewers. So there's going to be comedy there, there's going to be jokes, there's going to be laughter, so come on, really, it's going to be some campy feelings there, right? Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for you now, and we'll see where it goes. Alright, till next time, out of here. I want to do a review of the Maddie Voltron collector's set, because it really has my Voltron nerd popping off.